There we go. Video starting. Get my tea in. Hello, 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 everyone. Happy Tuesday. Happy day 2 and our Stop the Stress Fluff Cycle reset. Day 2. Now, I know yesterday was heavy in the sense that I had you thinking about a lot, right? And I love doing these workshop challenges because I want you to start really thinking outside the box. And I know there's a lot of comfort for many women, and it's why the diet industry is a billion dollar, trillion dollar, I think even now, industry, uh, because we find comfort and control in the box. Tell me what to do. I'll follow this. I'll eat this way. I'll work out this way. I'll journal when I can, and I'll do this, and then expect long-term results. Hi, Lori. Long-term success from it, and we should know by now it does not work. So yesterday we did dive into how do you even know you're stressed? Hey, how do you even know? And because a lot of us just equate it to what everyone else is doing, and everyone else is just as busy. And we talked about what your norm is, your beliefs, and learn behaviors around stress and rest. We also talked about the stress response cycle. So going from your calm, grounded, social, regulated, overstimulated, okay, exhaustion, and then collapse, burnout, okay. And we definitely had actions yesterday for you to complete where we asked, where do you think you are in those stress response cycles? Because that really is going to dictate how we heal and get cortisol in our nervous system loved up so we can naturally utilize fats and carbohydrates for energy. We don't store it in the unneeded fluff. And I asked you to write down what your belief or perceived belief around stress and rest is. So please, if you have not done that, it is key. It is key because it's not about muscling through, right? It's not about muscling through. It's about starting with your belief system first. So hi again to everyone. And again, if you have not watched day 1, please do that first. Build on that foundation. Answer the tough questions. You might not have the answer yesterday or even today, but just make sure you book in the time to revisit it. Okay? Because again, like I just mentioned, it's key. But today, in day 2, we're going to be putting on our science hats. Okay, so tap into your grade 12 or senior year, for my American friends, biology class. And for those that know me, like Lori, that are in the 3M system, you know that my style of coaching, I like to say even mentoring, is I love to teach, but I want to teach you the why. Okay, the why. The how is easy. We can all follow it. Right? How is easy. We can all follow it. But why? And what is going on with your body and mind? And why is it happening? And what we can do about it. That's key. Okay? Because the goal should always be, if you ever have a mentor coach, and if we decide to work together beyond this 3-day reset, is not for me to be your forever coach, is for you to have that self-connection and intuition and to question things. All right? Because every season of life is different. And it'd be amazing if we lived in this bubble and we can just follow the meals and do the workouts and do these challenges like this and everything be beautiful, but it's not reality. Okay? So the more of you learning the why, hence us dying into the science today. And this, again, good old cortisol. We're going to be talking about controlling the cortisol today because as we focus in the 3M, this is our huge multiplier. Okay, this is your make or break, insulin and cortisol. Okay, all the other hormones cascade onto there. I bring in an expert into our 3M community every quarter to talk, and we had a thyroid guru, my friend Shannon Hansen, come in and talk about thyroid health in your 40s, 50s, 60s a couple of weeks ago. And she said, she's like, when people come to me wanting to, heal their thyroid, it's usually the result of what's been going on in their hormonal hierarchy and with what's happened with their cortisol, their insulin, okay, their leptin, their ghrelin, all these other hormones. And then that's obviously precipitated to their thyroid. So we're going to be talking about that today. We're going to be talking about cortisol and its effect on us now at this stage of the game. We're going to talk about our parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. Don't worry, I'm not going to get too sciencey here, but we're going to ask, what does it do? Where is it halting our natural fluff loss and our fluff burn? Okay, we're going to be talking about high and low cortisol. And then lastly, nutritionally, what we can do to support it. And again, this is about part of your healing process and bringing you back into the state of calm. The biggest takeaway I want for you guys to recognize as we dive into today is that for you to see how a cookie cutter approach will not cut it. It is not matching where you are for your unique life and where you are in your stress response. Okay. I know there was a question yesterday. I think Tanya asked she's like, I feel overstimulated during the week, but then in the weekends I'm fatigued. Like I don't want to do anything. Can we flip flop between the different phases of your stress response? Absolutely. And the biggest win and the biggest aha from that statement for you, Tanya, was that you recognize that. Now we need to match how you're nourishing yourself and how you're moving and other neuro alignment techniques to help heal you out of it, to get you back into that calm. Okay. So yes, we can. And I think Lori, you mentioned that too. A lot of times we can flip flop in a short period of time between them, like within days or a week, for sure. Okay. And I think that's a big, big red flag and a sign for you to say, okay, my system here is not regulating. We are not getting into that state of calm and social and healing in my daily. Okay. Because again, we need this on the daily, 30 minutes to an hour at least, to bring us back into that parasympathetic nervous system state of calm. Okay, which we'll talk about here in a second. So let's talk about our good friend cortisol, which really gets a bad rap. And again, it is our multiplier. It is a huge fat storing hormone, but we need it. It's also our get stuff done hormone. Okay, say hi first. I see you guys jumping on here. Say hi so I know that I'm not alone. Okay, cortisol is a hormone that your adrenal glands produce and release. And just as a refresher, hormones are chemicals they're messengers. Okay, they're messengers and they work together. They don't work solo. They hopefully work, hey Sherry, in symphony together. That's the whole goal that we do in the 3M, getting to prime to work in symphony together. To coordinate different functions like carrying blood through your organs, your muscle contraction, other tissue repair. Okay, so it basically signals your body what to do when. Good old hormones, right? Because a lot of people don't understand what hormones are. They're like, I just know it's something that's been effed up, right? And we like to blame hormones, but we don't really know what they are. They're messengers. And cortisol is an essential hormone that affects basically every tissue, every organ in your body. It plays a huge role in activities such as obviously regulating your body's response to stress. Okay. Depending on your belief system of how human beings came to be, we have to remember that this is very primitive and it fights like heck for two things: to keep you alive and safe and to give you pleasure. That is it. Okay. So we have this fight or flight stress response for survival. Okay. To run from the polar bears or like saber-toothed tigers and all those things, again, depending on what your belief system is. But it regulates our stress response cycle. It also helps our bodies utilize fats, protein, carbohydrates, and how that equates, because remember, food is energy, how that equates to our metabolism. Cortisol helps with that. Okay. It regulates our blood pressure. It also helps regulate our blood sugar because it either allows insulin to come in and do its job or it doesn't. Okay. Cortisol also helps and regulates your sleep wake cycle. Okay. What do you need? I'm live. Okay, thank you. Sorry about the pause. Okay. Your body continually monitors your cortisol levels. Okay, continuous, because it's really, again, main function is to try to have homeostasis. Never really gets there. That's why I don't like the word balance your hormones, because they're never in a straight line balance. It's always tipping and weaving and wobbling, trying to find the line. But what we don't want is the big sways, right? Does that make sense, guys? Give me a thumbs up. Okay. So your body's continuously monitoring that fight or flight cortisol levels to try to bring it down. Higher than normal or lower than normal cortisol levels can be very harmful to your health. I think we all recognize that by now. And we can even feel it, right? We can feel it. So cortisol can also lead to a lot of inflammation, right? Systemic inflammation. We feel it in our joints. Okay. We get brain fog and even neurotransmitter issues. So motivation actually drops. It actually drops. So if you're, again, this is where the blanket solutions fail us. If you are following a protocol where you need to be motivated, you have to be on point, you have to follow this and read the stack of information, you got to do all these things, and they try to encourage you to be sustainable doing so. But if your neurotransmission and fatigue starts setting in, it's going to be so hard to be consistent, and then we start self-sabotage. Makes sense? Okay. Bottom line, put a big star beside this. Cortisol causes havoc when it's not regulated. Okay. I don't think we find balance, but we need to help it regulate. And we feel it when it's elevated too. It makes your body think it needs more glucose. Therefore, cravings start to happen. Who gets the munchies when they're feeling stressed out? Huge. It's not about motivation or being weak. Your brain is screaming for glucose, for energy, carbs. Okay. Forget the apple. I want the Triscuits. Thank you. Okay. It's a physiological response to stress. It also will decrease muscle mass. Okay. And decreased muscle mass is something that we do not want as we age. Okay. Because then we're not having a natural metabolic burn at rest. Okay, we're not utilizing our caloric burn at rest. We also are more predisposition to visceral fat. Okay, especially around here. Okay, and we get elevated leptin levels, increased insulin resistance, and leptin resistance. Leptin and insulin, I'll talk about more here in a second, but leptin is a hormone that helps with satiation. It's sort of your hunger cue hormone. But it helps with energy exchange. Okay. Cause that's what nutrition is an energy exchange. Okay. I don't like the food as fuel. It's an energy exchange. Okay. It's information. So we also see that heightened cortisol also lowers your immune system. Okay. Who's been super stressed out, super busy at work, go, 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 go. And then you crash and you get sick. Okay. Thyroid function, cortisol is high, thyroid function is low. Your thyroid function directly talks to your metabolism, whether it's going to rev it or put on the brakes and hold on to fat for protection. Okay, so it specifically blocks T3 conversion for those of you that are thyroid people. Okay, melatonin, hence your sleep weight cycles being affected. It elevates your estrogen and lowers your progesterone. So again, even though you may have your estrogen tank out, you're in a menopause, okay, you can still have an estrogen dominance because your progesterone is so low. That's all the technical stuff. That's all the boring stuff of what cortisol can do. Okay, but again, a lot of it sounds familiar. Okay, and we beat ourselves up thinking we're not strong enough, we're not determined enough, we're not focused enough, what's wrong with us, okay, we're not worthy, okay, then the apathy sets in, when really it comes down to what our cortisol is doing, okay? So how does your body, let's talk about this a little bit, and this will make a little bit more sense for everybody. How does your body control your cortisol levels? If you're saying, okay, Moni, I get it, it's swimming around all the time, your body's trying to get it regulated, but how does it do it? And it's a very actually elaborate system that really stems from this, your hypothalamus, okay? That's so aha, thanks, Jackie. Your hypothalamus, okay, which is a small area in your brain that perceives, okay, but also helps with hormonal regulation, okay, because again, hormones are messengers, okay, so this is taking in the bits of information and sending out signals, hormones, messengers to help deal with the good and the bad. It doesn't have to be just bad, the good and the bad, okay, so your hypothalamus, okay, is this. Your pituitary gland is also a big player, which is located just below your brain. And that helps regulate, okay, the feedback, this to your adrenal glands. We call it the HPA axis, hypothalamus pituitary axis, okay? This is a biofeedback. You guys hear the fancy word biofeedback that happens all the time, constant, on whether or not this is telling adrenals, I need you to pump out more. I need you to stop pumping out more cortisol. I need you to pump out more cortisol. Constant biofeedback. And really, for us to have optimal levels of cortisol in our system, because remember, we can be too low, too high, okay, we need to have your hypothalamus, your pituitary, and your adrenals functioning properly. That's why we hear the word adrenal fatigue. Okay, adrenal fatigue is so big. It's just the adrenal's been pumped out because it's been pounded on to ask, okay, more, right? And it's like insulin, okay? When insulin's been asked to come, regulate, they tap out and say, I'm done. Okay, I'm done. So in order to have optimal levels of cortisol in our body, we have to look at those big players. And I want to put a big disclaimer with this, because even though in resets like we're doing here to help, again, regulate our cortisol, help regulate our stress response, okay, depending on where we are, to bring us back to that calm state, we're doing things, we're learning things. There are times where your cortisol levels are out of your control. And this can lead primarily to a Cushing's disease, if you guys have heard of that, okay, or an adrenal malfunction or burnout. With both those scenarios, healthcare, you need to see your healthcare provider ASAP, okay? If you feel like, oh, okay, you'll know. Okay, we'll go over the symptoms here in a little bit. But you can, Cushing's syndrome, okay, it's just elevated high levels of cortisol no matter what you do. Okay, so please see a healthcare practitioner around there. You can test your cortisol levels, blood, urine, and saliva. I recommend all three. They naturally, cortisol should be high in the morning and then bottom out around midnight. Okay, again, it helps sleep-wake cycle. If cortisol is high, melatonin cannot come in and do its job. Okay, remember I talked about elevated cortisol also affects digestive function. Melatonin is produced in your gut. Okay, see how they all work together? It all works together. That's why it's very holistic, your healing. It can't be just, I'm just going to focus on this. You have to be holistic. Okay, so, and this pattern of high to low cortisol obviously changes if you're a shift worker, and or, Lori, I'm glad you're on this one. Your wake and sleep times change constantly. Okay, that's why having consistent sleep times is big, and what we talk about a lot in the 3M, consistency. So your body has something to work with. Okay, and I know we're doing a lot better on that standpoint, but that's your multiplier. Okay, so when we talk about our nervous system, okay, the automatic nervous system. And specifically, I said, how can we love it up? How can we love it up so we can naturally burn the fluff? Because this is how cortisol comes into play with our nervous system. And that makes sense, right? This feedback. For when we have a direct response to stress, something happens, a stressor comes in, it's evoking this to, again, signal to our adrenals. And again, this response changes as we age as well. Thanks, Mother Nature. Okay. So this responding, okay, biofeedbacking to adrenals when we have a stressor come in, whether it be traumatic, acute, chronic, okay, then right away our sympathetic nervous system gets firing. And this is our fight or flight, okay, or freeze too is in there. Okay, fight or freeze. And that's your system to control survival. You're going to fight, you're going to run away as fast as you can from the saber-toothed tiger, or you're going to freeze and try to rationalize it and control it. Okay? Or play dead. Okay? But it's your sympathetic nervous system that triggers that fight or flight response. When fight or flight response, cortisol gets triggered, cortisol comes in, because again, it's your stress response, it's your survival. Okay, right away, all those things happen. Thyroid slows down, digestion slows down, okay, inflammation, all the things start happening. It's a survival mechanism. Conserve energy. Doesn't matter if you're eating 3 salads a day, okay? If you're in a heightened fight or flight, everything is conserved and shut down. Doesn't matter if you're working out 45 minutes a day with Orange Theory. If you're in heightened cortisol, fight or flight, everything is shut down. Makes sense, guys? Give me a thumbs up. This is where the frustration of I am doing all the things that I thought correctly and nothing's working. I'm eating clean, I'm working out, nothing's working. Okay, so let's remember, I'm very passionate about this because I feel women really blame themselves and right away want to micromanage how they're eating, right? And want to work out more. Okay, this is everything in the 3M that we learned, that working out is not about losing weight. Okay, it's about other things. And the subset to it could be losing weight if that's a goal for you. Okay, and nutritionally, how we can support, which we'll talk here in a second. So the flip side of that fight or flight is your parasympathetic nervous system. Okay, this is the state of calm, again, regulated. This is where fat burning hormones are utilized. Okay, sympathetic, cortisol high, fat storing hormones come into play. Okay, parasympathetic, state of calm, relaxed, grounded. Okay, fat burning hormones come into play. Why? Because there's getting their energy. We need energy from something else. It's going into what's stored. Okay, systems get to do, digestion gets back revving. It's like, okay, let's get working. Okay, systems start using energy. So your fat burning hormones are releasing that fluff for energy, because that's what it is. It's an energy. It's energy. Okay. So how does this all work with, does that make sense with the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system? Okay. I'm not going to dive into all the biochemistry that goes on there because it's deep. All you have to know is sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight, cortisol high. All the things we talked about earlier can happen. Parasympathetic nervous system, rest and digest. Body gets to regulate, do what it's meant to do. Liver gets to detox you naturally. Digestion gets to function and do what it's meant to do. Nutrients get shifted out to all the different organ and organelles. Blood sugar gets regulated. Insulin's doing its job. Everybody's zen. Okay. Reality is, unless, again, we're living on the island with the chef and the cleaning people and people paying our toes all the time, or whatever your bliss may be, this is not reality for us to be in a parasympathetic state 24/7. But the key is that daily we can bring ourselves back into that state. for at least that 30 minutes to an hour, if not more, a day. Okay. And tomorrow we're going to be talking about, because I know you guys are but like, when? I don't have time. How? I don't have time. We're going to be talking about the strategies tomorrow. 5. Okay. I'm going to be giving you. So, okay. So let's talk about how this all works with the phases of stress response that you may be in. Okay. So symptoms of high cortisol sometimes look like this, or feel like this, I should say. Anxiety. Okay. Again, we talked about that a bit yesterday. Very prominent. Fluid retention in hands and feet, heart palpitations, nervousness, decreased concentration, the brain fog, carb cravings. The apple does not stand a chance. Okay. Sleep disturbances, either falling or staying, tired but wired, weight gain, especially around the waist. All the things we talked about yesterday. Okay. That's symptoms of high cortisol. Okay. Can you guys kind of put 2 and 2 in what state that's in? Okay. We'll recap here in a sec. Symptoms of decreased cortisol or cortisol bottoming out are, again, apathy. Okay. You just have a burnt out feeling. Just feel numb to everything. No motivation. There is carb cravings, hypoglycemia, because again, your brain's just screaming for energy, screaming for something to bring you up, right? Salt cravings, wants minerals. Okay. Joint muscle pain is big, decreased stamina, and obviously fatigue. Always feeling tired. Doesn't matter how much you sleep. Okay. So in our stress response cycle that we talked about yesterday, when we're in the feeling of calm, grounded, regulated, cortisol's chilling. It's just chilling, because this is telling adrenals, peace. She's doing all right now. Let's just chill out. Let's just keep a pulse on what's going around, but let's just chill out for now. Let everybody else do their job. Okay. That's such a beautiful way of putting it, in such a lame, like in an elementary way, right? But that's what happens. And are overstimulated, my Energizer bunny, go, 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 busy, 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 brain always thinking, can't sit, want the lists. Cortisol's high. Okay. Exhaustion. Okay. When we start to tank, again, the fatigue starts setting in. We're still going through the motions of everything. Everything's happening. Your cortisol is going high, then low, then high, then low. But it's never staying in the low long enough. Okay. It's not staying there long enough. Collapse and burnout, cortisol is flattened out. Okay. Not a good spot to be in. Look at the symptoms I just said. Okay. Because everyone's like, oh, I want to lower my cortisol. Not too low, because guess what? It's your get stuff done hormone. Gets you going. We need it. We have to have it for survival. Okay. So we have to look at where you are in those phases, because that shows us potentially what kind of nutrition we need to support our healing, and what kind of exercise that you need to be doing for healing. Okay. This has to be a big aha for you guys, because right away, most of us go into like, oh, maybe I should be keto again. Maybe I should try paleo, Mediterranean. So-and-so did this. I'll try that. You're so unique. Okay, you're so unique. And that's where the blanket systems fail us. Okay, because you muscle through, try to do it. Maybe you lose some water weight, a little bit of fat, drop some pounds, get motivated, then it stalls out. We gain it all back, lose muscle density in the process, and we're starting from zero again and making it even harder for us the next time around. For example, I'm going to give you a few here. Somebody who's in, let me just think about this in my head. Somebody who's in collapse mode is doing HIIT training 4 or 5 times a week is going to make things worse. Okay. If someone's in collapse mode, I just want her walking. I want her grounding herself in nature, listening to good music. Okay. Start healing to bring herself up. Okay. But if there's somebody who is in overstimulated mode and is doing short hit trainings, this could be a benefit because we're actually utilizing that excess energy out. Okay, until we can find a way to bring her back. Okay, we're using that energy out. If someone's overstimulated, something like ashwagandha, the herb ashwagandha, you guys have probably all heard about it. Okay, bye, Lori. Ashwagandha would be great to help lower cortisol naturally. But if you're in collapse, that's the last supplement that I would recommend to you, because we actually want to, your cortisol's flatlined and we want to bring it up. Okay, because you're barely functioning. And someone that's overstimulated in that state, we can play with fat loss strategies. We can look at where your macronutrients are. We can put you in a slight caloric deficit. Again, I'm not big on counting calories. Nobody has time. Okay, but for someone who's exhausted, okay, and in that fatigue state, we have to make sure that you're getting enough calories first. Okay, first. And again, your energy exchange is really dictated by your hormones and your metabolism and the state of your nervous system. It's dictating, again, how much calories, energy that you are using. Okay, so we have to look at what you're consuming, you specifically, and make sure that you're eating enough to match your metabolic demand. It's all about an energy exchange, and that is what nutrition pairing is. And I'm going to be talking about that here in a second. And if you are in that control, I do this because that's what, like, the apps like the FitPals and the Nooms, right? And say you've been eating, monitoring your calories, and in that 1200 to 1400, 1600 mark, whatever the app tells you that you should be in, and you've been doing that for the last decade, please start slow. We have to start slow to slowly bring you back up. Okay, and then we can start playing around to get you into the fat loss state. Okay, it's much more than just following a meal plan and following the workouts. Do you guys see that? Okay, give me a thumbs up. Okay, my 3Mers, I know you guys see it and notice it for sure. So let's get into the heart of the goods. Let's take off the science hat for just a second. Okay, we talked a lot about cortisol, what it does. Okay, what too high, too low cortisol does, how that relates to where we are in our stress response cycle, how that relates to our nervous system and our survival mechanisms there that are just innately triggered. Okay, innately triggered. And how can we support this nutritionally? Okay, 3 things I want you to think about. Number 1 is meal timing. Okay, if you've heard me speak before, I say this, or in my other challenges or resets, or paid or free, doesn't matter. I say this like a broken record because it is so important. Meal timing. For my overstimulated ladies, okay, you probably forget to eat lunch because you're go, or you don't eat breakfast. Okay, for my my burnout, okay, a lot of times no breakfast, backload calories to the end of the day, because that's when you kind of feel like eating, and then you're eating a massive meal. Okay, so we need to have consistent meal times through the days, spread apart, okay, to allow enough time to rest and digest. Please don't get snacky. Okay, if you're a snacker, that is a big red flag for me that, okay, energy demand is not being met nutritionally. Okay, so meal timing, look at your day, breakfast, lunch, dinner. Snacks are only there if we need them. Okay, breakfast, lunch, dinner, meal timing. All right, number 1. Number 2 is nutrition pair to meet your energy demand. Don't Google nutrition pairing. It is my methodology. It's what we do in the 3M system. And all it means is that we are making sure that your nutrition and what you are consuming matches your unique energy demand and where you are at in your stress response cycle consistently. Okay. I know, again, some of you say, like, well, I go from overstimulated to fatigue, or like, I just came out of burnout. Okay. But where are you most consistently, and where we can get you back into that calm, okay, and help nutritionally support the healing process to get you back in the calm. This is the first part of the 3M system and the 3M accelerator. We've spent 4 to 6 weeks just on priming and healing the body. We don't even look at the workouts. Keep doing what you're doing, if anything, okay? We just prime and heal the body, all right? So meal timing, to make sure that we have consistent meal timings and periods of rest and digest. Nutrition pair, okay? Nutrition pair to meet your energy demand. And I would also say to make sure that we are consuming some parasympathetic loving foods, meaning nutrition that will naturally help bring cortisol down. And those are, and please write these down, okay, foods that have a good density of magnesium in them, such as dark leafy greens, okay, fish, nuts and seeds, whole grains, okay, whole grains. So making sure that we are consuming dark leafy greens, fish, nuts and seeds, whole grains in our diet, okay? For those that are going to be asking me about magnesium supplementation, it's something that is personalized to you. I'd have to talk to you one-on-one. It'd be reckless for me. And I say this all the time to say, yes, have this amount of magnesium. Okay. What I will say with magnesium, it is beneficial to take with food before bedtime. So if your last meal is dinner, have it then. Okay. Also consuming calcium and several trace minerals like zinc, okay, and selenium, which is found in Brazil nuts. So having a Brazil nut once a day, don't go overboard. Okay, definitely will help, has a calming effect, research has showed, on the body and help restore normal cortisol levels. Okay, nutritional support. Your black tea and green tea, okay, and even some brands of dark chocolate have a amino acid called L-theanine in it. Okay, again, this helps with a state of calmness. Okay, anyone that eats dark chocolate knows can chill out with dark chocolate. Okay, also omega-3 fatty acids. Okay, big, making sure you get that. That's your nuts and seeds and your fish in there. And guess what, ladies? Carbohydrates. Okay, the days of anti-carb have to be gone. In your 40s, 50s, and 60s, we need carbohydrates, not just for your hormones, okay, but also for this, your brain, because it's glucose, your brain's most preferred source of energy. So the key with carbohydrates is that we need to find what your magic tipping point is, meaning we need to nutrition pair your carbohydrates in your day to meet your energy demand. If you're like, well, I don't know what that is, stay tuned till Thursday when I'm going to go do a bonus live and explain to you an offer where we can sit down one-to-one and obviously talk about that. Okay, so those are the three. Meal timing, okay, nutrition pairing to meet your energy demand is big. Okay, we can talk about that more if you'd like, because it has to be personalized to you. And the third is having the nutrients that I just mentioned to love up your cortisol response, okay, and your nervous system response. Okay, did you guys get those? Those of you that are still watching, did you get them? Okay, I can write them down again for you. Foods to avoid, I think we've all know what they are. Okay, processed meats, high sugar, caffeine, and alcohol. Okay, again, I am not a coach, mentor, nutritionist that is big on taking things away. Like, how many people are like done a diet and it's like no dairy, no gluten, no caffeine, no alcohol, no sugars, no anything. Like, I'm like, oh, Am I ever gonna be able to have a cracker ever again and cheese? Okay. I don't take things away unless we're not getting results. And then we got to figure out what's not healing you. And then we have to take some things away. Okay. Just to see. But when it comes to, again, where are you at in your stress response cycle? If you're in an overstimulated state, relying on coffee, 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 maybe have a good, honest look at your consumption and why. Okay. If at the end of the day, you are fatigued, down, tired, and you crave that glass of wine, let's look at why and what do you really need. Okay. So, and the same goes with the sugar, right? If you are in burnout, alone mode, okay, and you'd rather, again, like I mentioned yesterday, not converse with your partner and sit and watch Netflix. And what's the big one Netflix show that everyone's raving about right now? I can't remember the name. So it starts with an S. Anyways, my husband was like, "This is Succession." He's like, "This is so good." You know, with your bag of chips and you just want to be alone, okay, then we have to look at it. But there's no nutritional value, and they've been shown to be associated with more parasympathetic systems that can increase cortisol. Okay, right? Obviously, the primary hormone that equates to stress. So there's lots we can do, but it has to be very personalized to you. So today, and we're going to be talking about more strategy, 5 things tomorrow. Okay. Today, your little bit of homework and what I would like you to think about and ponder and build on what we did yesterday. And it's not about jumping down the rabbit hole and analyzing what you're eating and not eating and Googling and Pinteresting foods that are high in magnesium. I don't want you to do that. But I want you to think about, am I eating consistently through the day at consistent times? Okay, through the week. Meaning one day you're not skipping breakfast, eating at 4, having dinner again at 9. Okay, and then the next day you have breakfast and then you eat at noon and then dinner at 6, and the next day is different. Okay, consistent times. Look at your day and what works for you. Okay, then I would like you to think about where there may be gaps. Okay, where are you feeling really munchy and you feel like the pantry, I can't stop myself, I have to eat the pantry? Is it from being tired and stressed? Okay, are you backloading calories? Okay, just do a nice high level overview of what you consume in a day. Okay, you can write it out if you want to, but it is very, it shows a lot. Okay, because a lot of us, again, have blinders on and just go. And we consume just to consume and then go on our way, right? And then with that said, when you're looking at that, we can say, where are we when it comes to the processed meats, the sugar, the caffeine, and the alcohol? And where can we put ourselves in a little bit of check with those big 4? Okay, those big 4. And then pick one thing and make a shift. One thing. So for example, it can be like, I'm going to look at my meal timing for this week. Okay. Or it's going to be like, I need to add in more dark leafy greens. 100%. I've been slacking with that. I'm going to start adding in some more dark leafy greens. Or I'm going to try to sub my afternoon coffee for a green tea or an herbal tea. Or see how I can go on. I just want you to pick one thing. Fair? Put it in the chat. If you're watching the replay, please do the same. What's the one thing that you're going to be focusing on? All right, one thing. Again, it's not slow, it's strategic. Okay, because all of us are doers. We're going to be like, okay, she told me I should have selenium, I should have more leafy greens, fatty fish, I need to do all these things. And then again, we start getting stressed about it. Okay, so let's just keep it simple, please. Keep it simple and pick one thing and share with me below. All right, does that sound good? Does that make sense? How is today? There's a lot to take in again, okay, but hopefully it was enlightening on how cortisol works with our nervous system. Timing. I feel like this is one of the hardest parts, especially with kids and activities. Yes. Okay. So, and Sherry, my advice too with busy parents, and like I'm one of them, the activities and after school, please don't try to look at the whole week at once. Break it down. So I say to clients is like, look at Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Okay, who has activities in the evening? Who needs to be where? What does my day at work look like? What does the mornings look like? Okay, just do a once over and then be like, okay, when's breakfast for me? Like you're just thinking about it, write it down. You don't have to plan and meal plan. Okay, but you're just writing down when's breakfast. Okay, I'm gonna have leftovers for lunch. I have a block between my meetings. I'm gonna have it there. It feels like micromanaging until you get into the flow of it. Okay, and the goal is never for it to feel like work, but it will feel like a little bit at the beginning. But we don't want it to always feel like that. And the dinner's the same way. Okay, especially if you have kids going here, there, and everywhere, different activities at different times. What's something that, okay, we can't sit and eat together, but everyone can kind of grab and go. Okay, just looking at it that way. Let me know if that helps. Okay, that helps. It's the same with shift workers. Okay, shift workers. We have to look at Jackie eating more dense magnesium foods. Yes, that would be a great one for you. Okay, to bring in because I know we're working on your meal timing. I know we're working on your lunch. So making sure, yes, the dark leafy greens in there, adding some nuts and seeds to your smoothies or salads. Okay. Okay, if you need a snack in your day, remember snacks are only there if you need them. If you need a snack in your day, then maybe it is, some almonds with some apple slices or something like that. Okay, but yes, just try to keep it simple. Again, we don't need to be meal prepping and food prepping. Just us thinking ahead and writing it down. Oh my gosh, it's so empowering. And it creates such ease rather than just grabbing and going all the time, grabbing and going, because again, we're busy, right? We're busy. All right, guys, I'll leave it at that for today. Any questions, let me know. Okay, let me know. Tomorrow, I will say this, and I'm going to put a notice. I have to move the time earlier. So we are going at, what did my VA say? We're going at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. If you can't make the live, no problem. We'll send it in an email or watch the replay here in our group. Just put #replay so that we know and that we can get notice that you're watching and follow up with you. Okay, stay on this. Tomorrow, again, we're going to go over the 5 stages of things that we can do to help love on that nervous system to naturally release the fluff. Okay, and what we're going to some good strategy in there that you can take with you. All right. Had so much fun today. I love talking the science talk. Okay, let me know how you're doing and any questions you may have, and I'll see you guys tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.